All right, so I'm gonna go a little bit off topic this time. I want to address a situation that isn't directly involving a game. I usually like to stick to the games themselves, whether it's basketball, football, or boxing, as you know. Every now and again, I'll veer off to another sport, but this is football, not directly the game, but the hot topic of the Michigan football coach, Michigan Wolverines head football coach. Real quick, I want to address this subject because some narratives that are being put out there, I want to make sure that it's clear, at least in my opinion, that what this situation affects and how it affects things. To be clear, the Michigan football coach, I'm not going to say any names because you can look that up for yourself. If true, what he's being accused of, it affects a lot of people in this situation. But that being said, let's be totally clear. If true, the coach himself, as well as the staffer that he had the inappropriate relationship with, these are not victims. They're called participants. Now, unless for some reason there's some more to the story, because I'm not an investigator, I don't have all the inside information. If for some reason the coach did something against the consent of this staffer, that's another story. But assuming that this was an affair he had with a staffer, first and foremost, if you are in any work environment, there's rules and regulations you need to be aware of typically that could affect your career when it comes to relationships with coworkers, especially those that are subordinates, which it seems like, if I'm correct, that was the case here. He's the head football coach, somebody on his staff. So if that is the case, these two are participants. That being said, these consequences have actions. And as far as the narratives out there about who this coach failed and who he didn't fail and who we should care about and who we shouldn't care about, first and foremost, and I'm going to work my way up in this situation, this man, if true, failed the staff, first and foremost. A lot of staff are now affected, coaches and other personnel that work with them. When a head coach gets upended, whether they leave on their own or get removed, chances are the next year, this affects lives. Coaches who not only might lose their job, probably will lose their job, but their families might have to find a new place to relocate. Their kids may have to find a new place to go to school. So that's a big life-changing situation for people who weren't involved in this situation and are affected by the actions of this individual or individuals. That's first. Next, the students. Now, I heard somebody say that, who cares about the students? It's all about what the coach did. Or, correct me if I'm wrong. I think Jalen Rose's daughter, forgot her name, but she had a TikTok talking about, who gives a F about the students. I could be misquoting her, and if I am, then I apologize. But it kind of hit me in a certain way that, we got to care about how this affects the students, obviously. First of all, you've got student athletes there that are there because of the fact that this coach recruited them. They believed in this guy's vision. It usually isn't just about the school. Now he's gone. That affects them. How do they figure out their next move, especially if they really have the opportunity to go pro someday, or just want a good college experience when it comes to playing on the collegiate level. Also, those that are being recruited that were planning to come to Michigan, now the situation has changed. And according to reporting from Chad Ricardo with Fox 5 News, shout out to him, that affects people in the DMV area, the area I'm from. People who are already there recruited by this man and those that wanted to come. So I feel for them and their families as they try to figure out what to do next. And then moving up the level of people who were affected, this man's kids. The kids now, whether they're at school, with their friends, out in public, because this is a national story, with their family inside the house. They still love their dad, but at the same time, this puts a strain on those kids, and that's sad that they got to go through that situation, and that's major that they have to deal with it. And most importantly, the wife of this gentleman, who didn't sign up for it either, obviously. It's not her fault, but now at work, family, friends, in public, her business is on Front Street as well. They got to deal with that, whether they decide to work through it or it hurts their family moving forward in terms of staying together. So those are the people that are affected by the actions of this gentleman. One thing I don't want to stand for is when they start saying, like people like Ryan Clark, and I think he meant well, saying how this gentleman failed the black coaches, the community of black coaches that want to follow him, or be the next head coach of Michigan as a black football coach. First of all, for anybody out there that's not going to hire a black coach that has the credentials, that's got the film you can look at, that's got the resume, the potential, the references, if they got all of that and you're not going to give somebody an opportunity because of what this other man did, just because of the color of his skin relates to the color of this new applicant's skin, then we already are messing up. That's a character flaw in the individual or individuals who are making that decision, and they need to look themselves in the mirror. Let's not lump everybody together here. All black people are not a monolith in terms of the actions, good or bad. And this man failed himself, not all black coaches, all black men, or all men in general. His actions, if true, are not a result of how men act in relationships, obviously. It depends on the person. We don't want to lay this at the foot of men cheating on their wives if that's the case of what happened, if true. So this is his failure, and his actions have consequences, and the actions of the staffer, again, if this was consensual in an affair, knowing this was a married man you were involved with, that's the first level of the mistake. And then the next level, again, you work together, there's rules and regulations there. So this is on them, but it really affects others. And what it shouldn't affect is black coaches moving forward. That's my 2 cents. All right, that's all the time I got. Y'all know what it is, and you know who you're looking for. J Heat Sports Media. Remember to like, subscribe, or get at me in the comments. Let me know what you thought about the video. Let me know if you want any other content like that at times, that veers a little bit away but still affects the sport. And I do have another one that's on a more of a positive note that's indirectly affects the game and talks about coaches affecting players. Be on the lookout for that video as well. Find me on YouTube, Instagram, X, and TikTok. And as always, I'm coming at y'all with that fire as always.